Hi, I'm Peg Coover from ESU 10. Welcome to Grow with EdTech Tips and Tools, episode number 19. We are talking about blended learning best practices this week. Over the last 3 years, the blended learning team at ESU 10 has worked with the Highlander Institute out of Rhode Island on our blended learning project. Highlander does a nice job of talking about blended learning best practices, and we've adopted their philosophy. They've divided those practices into 4 domains, as you can see here. This week, we're going to start with classroom culture. There are about 8 different indicators that we can talk about for a classroom suitable for blended learning and the things that a teacher can do to change that culture. Number 1, tasks need to be supported by clear instructions. And this goes without saying with any well-run classroom. But in a blended learning classroom, it's especially important because students are doing so many different tasks. So those tasks need to be supported by clear instructions, whether it's instructions for a rotation, whether it's instructions of what to do when you're collaborating one-on-one with another student, in a small group, or even working in a small group with a teacher. Students also need to understand that the behaviors need to be appropriate for each task. And so teachers communicating those expected behaviors is very important. It's also important to ensure that the transition between activities is efficient. And again, having those routines and procedures in place and practicing those with their students early on is key to success there. Students need to have a system to solve problems independently because sometimes the teacher is going to be working with a small group of students or even another student just one-on-one. And if a student has an issue, technology-wise, for example, they need to know how to solve that problem independently first or where to go to solve their problem. So having those things in place is very important. A classroom culture of blended learning really sets itself up well for positive and productive interactions between students because of the opportunities that students do have to work with each other. And it's also very clear that a blended learning environment sets it up well for positive interactions between teachers and students because oftentimes teachers are more freed up to talk to every single student every single day, ensuring those positive and productive interactions. Blended learning also gives students the opportunity to provide input and feedback on learning experiences. And so teachers providing that opportunity for students is a way to change that classroom culture. And finally, in a blended learning environment, one of the classroom culture things that we will see is that students are collaborating. And so the more opportunities for that, the better. And also having expectations for that as well. These are just a couple of pictures of what you might see in a blended learning classroom working on classroom culture. Here's a technology what if. What do I do if? Here's stated objectives. Here are classroom station expectations for the computer station, for a practice station. Having those clear expectations is very important. In a few weeks, we'll be talking about one of the other domains on blended learning best practices. Until then, have a great rest of the week and thanks for tuning in.